Trump was in Pennsylvania. He took a moment to talk about local history.
Just this week, it was reported that an illegal alien, and you just look at this, what's happening, where our union was saved by the immortal heroes at Gettysburg. Gettysburg, what an unbelievable battle that was. The Battle of Gettysburg, what an unbelievable...
What a stirring orator. I look forward to Ken Burns' updated documentary.
My dearest Martha, wow. Today we fought at Gettysburg. It was so much and so interesting and so vicious and so beautiful in so many ways. For as it says in the Declaration of Independence, all men are endowed with certain rights that are unadmitted.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
I mean, at this point, the late night segments just write themselves, don't they?
Yeah, I have to ask, you guys have been, at the Times, have been live blogging this event. And 40 minutes ago, you wrote an observation that I was very surprised. Trump appears to be sleeping. His head keeps dropping down and his mouth goes slack. Tell us about that.
Well, Jake, he appeared to be asleep, and repeatedly his head would fall down. There have been other moments in other trials, like the Agent Carroll trial, which was around the corner in January, where he appeared very still and seemed as if he might be sleeping, but then he would move. This time, he didn't pay attention to a note that his lawyer, Todd Blanche, passed him. His jaw kept falling on his chest, and his mouth kept going slack. Now, sometimes people do fall asleep during court proceedings, but it's notable given the intensity of this morning.
If Biden is Sleepy Joe, I guess that makes you Dozo the Clown, huh?
Imagine committing so many crimes, you get bored at your own trial.
After falling asleep twice in court yesterday, Don Snowleone, that is classic, he hit the hay a little earlier last night. Instead of ranting on Truth Social until 1 in the morning, he clocked off around 9:30 p.m. I believe, and he didn't get his ranting and raving started until around 7 this morning with this warm message. And while Trump continues to provide endless content to late night hosts on both coasts, I wanted to highlight this piece from Stephen Colbert that perfectly encapsulates just how absurd Trump's Gettysburg rant really was.
Trump was in Pennsylvania. He took a moment to talk about local history.
I mean, it was so much and so interesting and so vicious and horrible and so beautiful in so many different ways. It represented such a big portion of the success of this country. Gettysburg, wow. I go to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to look and to watch. And
I mean, honestly, I could give you a better description of Feynman's grand unified theory of everything after about 12 beers than this man trying to break down the Battle of Gettysburg.
What a stirring orator. I look forward to Ken Burns' updated documentary.
My dearest Martha, wow. Today we fought at Gettysburg. It was so much and so interesting and so vicious and so beautiful in so many ways.
If this wasn't enough to jolt Sleepy awake, I'm sure these comments from Jon Stewart would do the trick.
Yes, after years of anticipation, the first criminal trial of a former president has begun, and by all accounts, it is absolutely riveting.
You know, the wheels of justice grind slowly. I did not think they would grind so slowly that they would rock the defendant apparently to sleep at the defense table today. I mean, I have to say, I was not there. I do not know if he was asleep. It is possible he was, meditating or just resting his eyes or something. I don't know. But those headlines, on the front page of the New York Times, front page of the Washington Post, front page of the Huffington Post, front page of multiple news outlets today coming out of this, that Trump appeared to fall asleep on the first day of his trial, those are going to stick. I mean, I know it's not the most important legal thing, but we are in the middle of a campaign.
Trump appears to be sleeping. His head keeps dropping down and his mouth goes slack. Tell us about that.
Well, Jake, he appeared to be asleep.
Hey, Jake. What part of head down, eyes closed, drool coming out of his mouth do you not get over here? He's snoring. Imagine committing so many crimes, you get bored at your own trial.
And the thing is, what all this comes down to, right, is just how unfit this man is to be president, because in the 4 weeks after the hackery that was the Hur report, the New York Times wrote 30 stories on Biden's age. Meanwhile, their very own lead correspondent has had a front row seat to the GOP frontrunner dozing off in court.
His opponent, the whole Sleepy Joe thing, I mean, this is, as you said, Ari, this is the most historic thing that Donald Trump has ever done. No president ever has been, no former president ever has been a criminal defendant. And on day one, the headlines coming out of it are that he appeared to doze off. And to me, that's just, I mean, it's insane. It's also a reminder of how scary, however scary and somber and important this is. We're also dealing with somebody who is just fundamentally buffoonish. And this will be as much a reminder of that as it is of all the more serious things here that are at stake. You know, this is a guy, we've already had mentions today of like the one alleged mistress and the other alleged mistress, and the doorman who's making the allegations about the alleged love child with the third alleged mistress. And then, I mean, and the crux of this is not who he slept with. The crux of this is his alleged criminal conspiracy with the National Enquirer. I mean, this really is a fundamentally buffoonish person. And this will center that in the mind of the American people in a way that, you know, him staying awake in court today might have diverted, but this is what we've got. You go to the election with the candidate you have.
But as we already know, Fox News will avoid it at all costs and instead pivot to pressing issues like how last week's eclipse was actually indicative of an overrun southern border dimming the light of America.
You know, there's a gag order on Trump. He's not allowed to make inflammatory statements about witnesses, families of the court staff, or the case itself. So, of course, on his way into the courtroom this morning, Felonious Monk immediately violated that order.
Before the jury selection even started this morning, prosecutors argued that Trump had violated his gag order and asked Judge Merchan to hold Trump in contempt for criticizing potential witnesses in social media posts, asking him to fine Trump $3,000. Only $3K? But I guess that's on brand for Trump. KKK.
What about the rest of the mainstream media? They have a duty to respond because this man's falling asleep in court, rambling incoherently at his rallies and forgetting the names of those who he both claims to admire and detest.
And the press never reports the crowds, you know. By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley, you know, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything, deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, whatever they want. They turned it down. They don't want to talk about that.
That isn't a mix-up. The reality is Nikki Haley.
She wasn't speaker.
Nikki Haley is relying on Democrats, just like Nancy Pelosi.
He confuses Barack Obama. He thinks he's running against Barack Obama, Elise, and you know it. And if you say anything otherwise, you're lying through your teeth. He confused Nikki Haley with Nancy Pelosi on January the 6th. And if you say anything else, you're lying through your teeth.
Because the reality is, if Biden fell asleep on Air Force One, never mind a criminal trial, and departed the plane after schedule, the airwaves would be clogged with opinions on how this represents his inability to govern. It's now going on day 2 of Sleepy Dawn, and the media should report it as diligently as the late night hosts are.
He's proud to be there for the assault on our country. He's proud to be at his trial for paying off a porn star. Who wouldn't be proud of that? Gosh, I only wish his parents were alive to see it.
In fact, his lawyer passed him notes for several minutes before Trump appeared to jolt awake and notice them. What? Oh my God, I was having the most terrible dream that I had to read something. Oh no, that the dream was real.
Trump appears to be sleeping. His head keeps dropping down and his mouth goes slack. Followed by, Trump is apparently jolted back awake, noticing the notes his lawyer passed him several minutes ago. If Biden is Sleepy Joe, I guess that makes you Dozo the Clown, huh?
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.